Oh. Aaron goes, uh-huh. Oh my God. Extreme. Why would you say this?
Amusing. Yes, I want to be clear. I still don't think the orb slapped him in the face.
Your guide to the unknown, and these are our Ghost Adventures.
Hello, welcome to Ghost Adventures. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And this week we're talking about episode 6 of the show, which takes place at an unnamed northern New Jersey former psychiatric hospital.
Yeah, it was kind of fun to see a somewhat classically ghosty environment.
Yeah, we haven't really, we've had houses, obviously.
Sure.
But it's not like we've had a haunted mansion yet or anything like that. It does seem like the ghost hunter's bingo to finally go to an abandoned psychiatric facility.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll definitely get into it, but I also felt like this episode was like the preeminent, if you needed to show somebody an episode of Ghost Adventures that plays to everybody's expectations, I think it might be this one. They were especially bro-y.
Yes.
It was a little dopey.
Yes.
I also didn't buy a bunch of it.
Yes.
But it was very fun.
I absolutely agree. Even their little cold open being like on this episode, I was like, whoa! I felt like it felt very promising right off the bat and very chaotic.
1000% agreed.
I feel came to pass.
It was ridiculous.
Yes, this was a silly episode. It definitely picked back up the pace from last week's Sloss Furnaces, which we both felt was a little bit low-key.
Yeah, more like slog furnaces.
Right. They came in high-key for this one.
Yes, but speaking of Sloss Furnaces, we covered Sloss Furnaces not only last week on Ghost Adventures, but we did a tie-in, a little crossover with our mothership podcast, Guide to the Unknown. Kristen and I, it's out right this second if you want to go find it and listen to it. Kristen and I did our own dive into the Sloss Furnaces story. On Guide to the Unknown, Kristen and I have been doing 140 plus episodes all about paranormal events, ghosts, monsters, the stories behind pop culture movies like The Exorcist that are supposedly cursed. And yeah, on this previous episode, we decided to double back to do our take on Zach Bagan's evidence. So if you enjoy what we're doing here on Ghost Adventures, definitely subscribe to Guide to the Unknown.
That's right. You can find all the links you need to at gttupod.com. So definitely check that out and also follow us on social media at gttupod. And also join our private Facebook group, the Guide to the Unknown Secret Society, where people are also talking about ghost adventures. So that's all that. Let's get into the summary of this episode that will set us up and get us ready to talk about the investigation.
Yeah, tell us, Kristen, what happened?
Oh, look at the
What happened
cows.
here? Okay. New Jersey represent. The crew visits an abandoned psychiatric facility that spans 90 acres, by far the biggest location they've investigated. The hospital closed its house, so there are some items and effects from former residents around, making it feel extra creepy. Also, I'm editorializing, is there a greater chance of hauntings if the personal items of the ghosts are around? There's also a bunch of creepy graffiti and everything is connected by underground tunnels, so basically this place is right out of central casting. Thousands of patients live there with a range of mental illnesses and severities. Since it was built at the turn of the century, we didn't address mental health the way we do today, and there are people locked away against their will en masse who may not have actually been unwell, and therapies we now regard as barbaric were utilized there. The environment is described as having been prison-like and not necessarily well kept. The heat went out at one point and multiple residents died from the cold. There were well over 10,000 deaths at the facility over the span of its run. As for hauntings that people have encountered since then, nurses in turn-of-the-century outfits have been seen, people have had a sense of somebody running by them, and people have felt like they've been watched. The sound of yells for help have been heard from the tunnels when they had been abandoned for years, so nobody is down there. Well, guess what? Papa's home, and he's ready to talk to some frickin' ghosts.
My God, they really do. And they get a lot of EVPs in this episode.
Yes, this is a EVP heavy one.
Yeah, which I think is probably going to be a thing to lead off our first segment, right?
Yeah, if think so. So let's talk about the most convincing piece of evidence. All right, Will, what stood out to you first?
I really only have the one. Because to me, they caught a lot of EVPs, or so they say, whatever. But
Yeah.
EVPs are probably the thing I'm most skeptical of. It's just very hard for me to, I don't know, get a foothold. What am I hearing? I can't really decipher them. I usually have to be told what they're saying.
Right.
However, in this episode, they get a very loud and clear EVP. Typically, you have to leave the recorder on, and from your own point of view, it's almost as if you're just recording ambient sound of an empty room.
Right.
And it's not until later that you process the audio and you can hear the voice that's buried inside that audio file. But in this episode, they hear it loud and clear with their own ears, and it creates one of the best moments on the show up to this point. Every episode that we've watched, they're walking through one of the corridors, and Zach is asking a question of some sort. He kind of just goes like, "Hey, if you don't like me, come and give me a push or pinch me. I like that."
A push and a pinch.
A push and a pinch. And then they hear a voice go, "Hello?" And it is so clear. I genuinely thought that it must be another person. I thought maybe this episode recorded, and suddenly the ghost adventures crew was running into somebody else who's investigating the asylum.
You're looking at the bird
There's no one around. So a female voice.
What's over there?
So clear it was.
That's where the pioneers
unmistakable,
walk
and
through.
to me, the absolute best thing that they captured.
Yeah, I completely agree. That was also my most convincing thing, and it was kind of in the midst of a lot of stuff happening. It wasn't one of the more chaotic moments of the show where the cameras are like, blah, blah, but it happened after Nick was saying that he felt very sad.
Yeah.
And he asked Zach if he felt sad in this hallway. And then not long after they hear that voice that you and I could hear clearly, not just as an EVP, they heard a noise from down the hallway, like a door slammed or made a noise or something. So it almost seemed like they had walked into some sort of like pocket of activity in that hallway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was a smorgasbord of stuff going on right there.
Yeah.
That voice saying hello was really, it was cool, it was fun, it was spooky. I also seriously was like expecting to see it. Oh my god. Right. We're bumping into each other now. In that moment, right after they Zach starts looking out and he turns and you see Aaron who's wearing a mask and his face is like an inch away from Zach's camera. And Zach goes, "Did you just hear that?" Aaron goes,
Hey,
"My god."
how are you?
It was so terrible.
Yes, he has zero chance of that. Oh my God.
I love it. Absolutely.
Hopefully it doesn't freeze.
Okay, so I have a most convincing piece of evidence. This is my only other one that started off as least convincing, and to call it most is maybe a little bit generous, but I ended up thinking about it in a different way, and I was surprised by it. So, not unlike you, I am also very skeptical of EVPs, and I'm also very skeptical of orbs, whether in photos or captured by camera or whatever. So there's a point in the show, kind of late in the show, where they posit that an orb has slapped Nick in the face.
This is your best piece of evidence.
I mean, to say best, like I said, is not quite accurate, but when they talked to the analyst who they want to take a look and see what they thought, he made a point about it that I was like, huh, actually that's kind of interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. So just to give you guys a little recap of what happened, Nick locks himself in the voice section of the psychiatric hospital. He's on one of those tables that you slide into, like a big box and close the door. And while he's in there, he's freaking out. And when he comes out, they're like, "Oh, you have like right on your face, like in the shape of a hand," which it's certainly not distinctly in the shape of a hand. But as I was looking at it, I was like, okay, I guess if I factually knew, not even in a ghost situation, if I factually knew something slapped the face when their face looked like this, I suppose I would think that that was an appropriate skin reaction. Like, okay, sort of, whatever. And then they roll some tape and they say, you can see this orb go on to Nick's back, so flies Totally. I was thinking that too. I was like, maybe for a little while he was on his cheek.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe your
I
fist.
want to be clear.
It was disgusting in Ireland.
Yes, I want to be clear. I still don't think the orb slapped him in the face. I don't. But I did find the way that this thing moved make me think that maybe it could be an orb, whatever that is. I don't think it slapped him though. Exactly. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm going on record as you say, orb slap was real.
Nope, that's incorrect.
Hashtag orb slap. An orb clapped his cheeks.
Ever gotten more feedback, or at least me personally, I don't think I've ever gotten more feedback from anything than this month of Washington. There have been so many comments across social media platforms and personal messages and all of that telling me that other people indeed did the month of Washington thing. Bethany's aware of this now. Actually, after the show, I found that was a thing and I sent it to her and she was like, what the hell?
It is pretty unbelievable. And when I heard you said it, I had
Well, did you know it was a thing?
no. For one thing, I had the exact same experience as Bethany.
Yeah.
I mean, just that when you said, well, you know, when you're in a pool and you pop out of the river, I both in Washington.
Yeah.
Bethany was like, what? And me, Will, and Home Alone, I was like, what? What are you talking about? You did that? Then my second thought was, this is Kristen, the same person that dressed up and, you know, carried her books with a belt wrapped around them. Like,
Correct.
of course you tried to play like you were part of the Washington pool. That was the fun you had. I was shocked.
Yeah.
I had texted you about it, and you were like, people are back with that. So I started looking online.
I think pointed out, like, why is it North of Washington, not George Washington? Because like, it really is here. There's like,
Really?
yeah, George Washington here.
I guess
I guess it's just George. Do we have
people that just want
Clearfield.
to
Just
kill
waiting for a chance.
bloodlust, right? And so even somebody quote unquote
Seven
bad
Sarah.
killed, there's some people who are rebel,
Right.
and that is sick to me.
And
That
Me
is
too.
insane. Bring your children, have a picnic. What are you talking about?
oh, we
bizarre.
got a
It is
Tesla
grotesque.
next
That
to
is like,
us.
you know,
Watch out.
Make fun of human society.
might blow
and
up.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
need to be taken down a peg.
Yeah,
That's so
our brains
grotesque.
have a broken heart.
Absolutely.
It's
Horrible.
crazy.
But Zach and Nick are going to run up to the top of those hills to check out the vantage point.
Right.
And Zach, I thought at first was making a lot of sound about nothing.
Uh-huh.
When he was like, there could be snakes around. We might have to look out for snakes. I was like, there are no snakes. Snakes everywhere.
Yes.
By the way, I don't know.
The six. It just looks like the ground is moving.
Which it didn't.
Well, for him, he's looking down at it.
Or was he quoting Indiana Jones? Because they go to that like part of the temple and they're like,
Does he say the ground
ground
is moving?
seems to be
now?
moving.
Oh, yes. He just referenced Indiana Jones earlier, so you're right. I bet he is just referencing
He
it.
might be. There are plenty of snakes up there, yes. But they also
Sure
usually
does. At least you know how to use it.
and watch, and then you can dodge them pretty easily. For the ground to look like it's moving, like snakes, right?
Yes. Well, I didn't gather, not to break down this one sentence too much.
Now we're
everybody,
gonna
like, the whole
drive
ground looks
up
like it's
towards
moving, except that, like, if you're
the
doing
entrance
sleep,
of
like, there are lots of
Air
areas where
Force
there's
Base.
There's a lot of snakes
like
there.
just blurring your eyes. But kind of,
It's true.
It's
So
going
I
into
hate snakes. I
Go down
really hate
towards-
snakes.
We're gonna go down towards the mall.
I do not like that. That is right back down to that TV show I got.
well,
Absolutely.
and I don't look like our nose baby.
I don't like
He was not to like snakes.
He kept going.
He said he didn't like them though, Kristen.
He said he didn't like them, but he kept going and the kids went up.
He sure
I
did.
was like, okay, I'm just saying we're done. Here's my favorite. I was like, stop playing out of your mind. Was it camera adrenaline?
I have never seen anything like that.
guess I have to sit here and
It isn't
charge.
on the Travel Channel app. It isn't on Hulu.
I give my
And
uncle
I had seen online that it was because
crap
Mark
for
and Dan
his.
Constantino were
I tell
in
my
it,
mom to tell him,
and
hey,
they died.
tell him be careful, he might blow up one day.
And then killing himself. And I'd read that they pulled the episode because of that. But
It's
then
pretty
actually
funny.
Liz told me separately off the show that there are episodes that are available that they're in, so she's not totally sure why they pulled some and didn't keep in others. That's really something I want to talk to Liz about when she comes back.
Yeah.
We'd like to talk to her about it when she was
Almost
on.
there.
Because she definitely has
I'll
some
be getting
perspective
off.
on the Constantinos that was news to me.
So
But just wanted to know that they're
sleepy.
in this episode when it's pulled.
I know, and
Yeah,
even
the
that
government's
episode
gonna
3
steal
was
my
Moundsville
uncle.
Penitentiary.
Yep.
Another jail.
And anyone else who
So I
drives a
don't know
Tesla
if it
or
was
an
a subject
electronic
matter thing. There must have
car.
been something in that episode that caused it to be
I don't trust them. I don't like being around them because I feel like they're gonna blow up right next to you. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah. Plus, they're ugly cars. You know, a lot of cars look the same. I'm more into the classic. Classic cars are the best. The older, the better. Because then if the grid goes down, at least it will keep running. Yeah, newer cars. All look the same.
This is something that we could do. I have an old video camera that Dad had got. It shoots night vision, and I was able to make it work.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
I also have this good CRT monitor
Park here for a second.
which used to be used by Rutgers professors. It's got a very particular set of like inputs.
Yes, it
that
was.
most TVs do not have. I used it to edit.
Alright, you have a good day,
show that
Ellie.
we
And
displayed
I
the
will see you the
film.
next
Yeah,
time.
so I've got this monitor here. I've got that.
It was
camera.
nice
We
to
can
have
actually
you
do this.
in the
What
chat.
Ghost Adventures captures is a silhouette
Right.
of obviously
Alright,
a
that
human
works.
Definitely.
Have a great day.
being. I know.
Until the next time.